I didn't either, but maybe I can't operate it. Maybe I ain't smart enough. Now it works. She must have turned it on. Thank you.
Turn it on or something. That's item number 4, but there's no coverage.
Well, I see it's 9:30, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the March 21st, 2024 Subdivision Utility Advisory Board meeting. Could I have the opening announcements, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available on the counter in the lobby. The Planning Commission's bylaws limit the applicant of a subdivision application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the Commission may extend these times by a majority vote. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone.
Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Blick is absent. Zimbelman? Here. Williams Bay? Here. Bill Johnson?
Here.
Duell?
Here.
Aldridge?
Here.
Fox? Here.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the vacation cases. The first one is item 2, vacation case 2024-00009. Oh, Scott?
Yes, sir, as Phillips walked into the podium, I just want to point out there was a question about a missing item. It turns out that our agenda items in the packet are mislabeled. And so you'll see that the first vacation case actually has agenda item number 1 associated with it. It should actually be agenda item number 2. So all of the materials are in there. You'll just have to go by the case number as opposed to the agenda item number.
Trying to confuse us.
Oh,
And you did it.
we're keeping people on their toes.
Go ahead, Philip.
Well, good morning. Philip Zievenbergen with planning staff. For the record, Vacation 24-9 is request to vacate a portion of public street right-of-way located abutting to the east of 3534 West Ponderosa Street. This property, the vacation area, was platted as North Nelson Street. My understanding is that several decades ago, it was gravel at one point in time, and when the apartments that were built to the north were constructed, the city actually took out Nelson Street and put in a ditch. If we go into the aerial image, please. If you remember, the portion of Nelson Street right-of-way abutting the property to the south has been vacated. It's also been vacated even farther south than that. And so this portion of Nelson Street right-of-way is under consideration at this time. What's different about this is the properties to the south, only the subdivision that this property is located in is they dedicated 30 feet of it, but then subdivisions to the east did not dedicate their portion of the 30 feet. The subdivision that this property is in dedicated this 30 feet of it, and then the Benbow addition to the east also has dedicated 30 feet of right-of-way as well. That is not under consideration this morning. It is only this 30 feet, as that is the only portion of the right-of-way that this property owner is eligible to request. Number one, it's the only part of the right-of-way in this actual subdivision. The only way to vacate the eastern 30 feet of that would be if property owners to the east were to request the portion of the right-of-way to the east or abutting their property as well. So again, we're only speaking of this 30 feet of right-of-way abutting the applicant's property. The applicant is coming in, one, he has been cited because, as you can see on the aerial, he is utilizing the property at this time. He was cited for using right-of-way, and so he's coming in to request the vacation in order to continue to use the right-of-way. The only public utility in the right-of-way, as you can see, is stormwater. There's a stormwater inlet in the parking lot of the apartments, and it brings stormwater underground. There's another inlet down here, and then an above-ground flume, which my understanding is it allows the stormwater to then travel south in the ditch, going to the south. And this right-of-way, when it was vacated, was dedicated as an easement to protect the drainage at that time. If you want to go to the next picture, please. If you recall, when this property came in for the request, City Traffic and City Fire agreed that it would be good to retain a portion of the right-of-way for any possible future construction of a hammerhead. There's no funding identified, there's no timeline, but they agree at this time to take some of this right-of-way as well in order to, for future construction of a hammerhead if funding is ever identified or if it becomes a project. So the conditions of approval are that the legal description be revised to remove the southern portion of the right-of-way in order to allow for future construction of a hammerhead turnaround if and when funding and a project is identified in order to do so. There are franchise utilities in the right-of-way on Evergy's poles. Evergy and Cox do not object to the request. There is a requirement to dedicate this portion of the right-of-way as a utility and drainage easement for the drainage facilities as well as the other utilities that are in there. If the applicant were to need to relocate any of those utilities, such as Evergy or Cox, that would be at the applicant's expense. Yesterday, I sent 2 public comments to the committee members from neighbors in the area with concerns of changes to the drainage. They're alleging that the applicant has also gravelled this portion of Nelson Street right-of-way that he is not eligible to vacate. And they allege that the change in how this part of the right-of-way is being used has caused drainage damage or additional runoff to go into their properties. I've spoken with Joe Hickel with City Stormwater. He is looking into it. Our understanding is there may need to be additional time to understand whether or not any change or any reversion of property needs to be taken place in order to, well, one, determine is there any additional runoff happening that's actually caused by changes that have been made to the right-of-way, and if there is, whether or not anything needs to be put back to where it was before. Again, runoff from the parking lot of the apartment complex goes underground to the storm sewer area over here, and my understanding is it then continues traveling south through the ditch. So it is unlikely that water from the apartments is traveling south because it's going underground. It's whether or not any of the runoff that is generated in this area that is no longer as permeable as it used to be is actually has increased or is causing possible damage. So it's something at consideration of possibly needing more time to determine that. We're going to go to the site photos, please. So I'm at the end of the right of way. This is looking northwest. This is the applicant's house. This is the fenced area is the portion of the right of way that's under consideration today, and a portion of the right of way that the applicant is actually eligible to request vacation of and possibly use for his purposes. You can see that that portion is paved, but pavement does stretch to the east into the portion of the right of way that is not eligible for vacation by the applicant, in addition to graveling that has been laid, and it looks like the applicant or somebody is utilizing the eastern portion of the right of way that is not eligible for vacation at this time. Next picture. This is looking to the southeast. This portion of the right of way was the most recent to be vacated by this property owner here. This is that flume that I talked about. This is Ponderosa Street. So there's a drainage culvert here that stormwater comes in. The stormwater from the apartments runs underground to this point, and my understanding is it goes down and goes down the ditch to the south. Next picture. This is looking south. This is the edge of that flume. You can see the grade change into the ditch. And this property owner also vacated their portion of the right of way. It was also retained as a drainage and utility easement. And so the ditch has been retained going south from Ponderosa for stormwater purposes. Next picture. This is in the apartment complex to the north. I just wanted to show the stormwater inlet on the north side of the property. That stormwater from the apartment goes into, this is all curb and gutter. This is the right of way in question. It actually stretches a little bit to the left of the picture, but all that stormwater is collected at this location and does go underground. So it's unlikely that it's flowing over the curb and over across. It is going underground. And I'll defer to Joe Hickel about whether or not it's coming above ground again at that flume. But that's just kind of the whole picture of the drainage system going on at this location. In speaking with traffic engineering and stormwater, a condition that would likely need to be added to the staff report is just confirming and putting in writing that the applicant is not able to use the eastern 30 feet of right of way that is not eligible to be vacated. So any personal property or any personal effects in that area would have to be removed. There's no ability to fence that portion off because that's still right of way and that is not even eligible for him to use at this time. And then again, in speaking with stormwater, there may be needing additional time in order to determine the drainage situation as to whether or not things need to revert back to where they used to be and not be gravelled anymore or something like that. So with that, I could stand for any questions for staff.
Hey, Philip, has it indicated how long it might take to determine on this rock?
I will defer to Joe Hickel on
Thank you.
that.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Aldridge?
Yep. Philip, it appears from a aerial view that the applicant is using that as an access point where he's gravelled right there on the right of way, and he's, the aerial that I'm looking at has got a couple of vehicles on it. He's operating some sort of business back there, it looks like.
Yeah.
So he's using.
Tybin, can you go to the first picture, the actual first site picture that shows
right
the
there,
white vehicle?
he's using that for access to get to the back of his property there.
Correct, and that is not, it's technically right of way, but there have been changes made without city permission, and essentially it's becoming an extension of his property, which is not legal. If you want to keep going to the first actual on the ground picture looking north. You're talking about this, Mr. Aldrich, where there's a break in the fence.
Yes. It looks like he's got, like a skid loader or something back in there, but.
Right. What's tricky is it being right of way, even though it's not improved right of way, it does technically provide access, but it has to be public access. And so, I guess I'll lean on traffic engineering as to, to say that he couldn't use it for access back there. I don't think we could, but he just can't fence this portion off, nor can he just store items in here. This has to remain open in order for even property owners to the east to utilize technically public right-of-way for possible access to their backyard. But like, mattresses in a vehicle and things like that, this cannot be just private storage or fenced off.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Dole?
The applicant does own.
I don't think your mic's working.
I'm sorry, the applicant does own the land in the subject right of way, right?
No, it's right-of-way. So the applicant owns the house and the property that the house is on. This fenced-off portion is technically public right-of-way, and the fenced-off portion is what we are discussing today. That's what's in this black rectangle. This area that we're seeing here is this portion of the right-of-way that's east of it that was dedicated in a different edition, and the applicant is not eligible to even request to vacate it because he doesn't have the reversion right to it. It would be technically belong to the property owners to the east if they went through the process to vacate it.
Any other questions of Philip?
Mr.
Mr. Williams Bay?
Philip, if the vacation is granted, is he allowed to change the grading in the vacation?
That is up to Public Works and Utilities to determine. In the previous cases where it was a drainage ditch, part of the conversation was that the ditch needed to be retained because of the stormwater that was going through it.
Can Public Works respond to that?
Joe Hickle, City Stormwater. We're gonna need some time in a field meeting with the applicant, myself, and any opposing landowners to try to understand really what the question is here. And I'm afraid that might not be able to be accomplished in time for next week's MAPC meeting.
Any other utility advisory board members got any comment?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Toba, no additional comment.
I'd like to hear if Fire's got any comments on this.
He's shaking his head. No. When they provided comment with traffic engineering, their comments regarding retaining
already
some
got
of the
that.
right of way for Hammerhead.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other comments, let's have the applicant or agent, please. You got 10 minutes and give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Jaime Ortiz, and I'm the owner of the house. And I was requesting the vacant area because like in front of my house, there's not much parking, and before it was all grass, and I was taking care of it, and then I put the rock here, and then this behind the fence is all concrete that I put in. That's what I have.
Are you in agreement with having staff and engineering review that with you before we make a decision on this item?
Yes, I
Okay.
agree. That's all I have.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the commission chambers wanting to speak on this item? Anybody else? Bring it back to committee. What's the pleasure of the board?
Sort of sounds like we need to look at maybe making a request of deferral on this until we hear back from.
Do we want to make a time of that? 2 weeks?
Say, you don't think you're gonna be able to have it done by next Thursday for the MAPC, so 2 weeks.
So April 4th is the next subdivision meeting.
Would that be able to work for stormwater?
I think so. If this meeting were delayed 2 weeks, we'd have time for the field meeting and prepare a report for you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I'm gonna make a motion that we defer for 2 weeks to give
Second.
stormwater and traffic engineering time.
Motion by Mr. Aldridge. It was second by, I heard two people. Mr. Dole. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? 6-0. Next item is vacation case 2024-00010.
Vacation 2410 is request to vacate a portion of a platted 50-foot street side setback at property located at 508 North Armour Drive. This is along East Central, east of Woodlawn, about a half mile between Woodlawn and Rock. Property is SF5, is developed with a single-family home and a attached garage. If you go to the aerial image, please. The applicant is requesting to vacate the north 40 feet and the west 65 feet of the 50-foot platted setback along East Central on Lot 6, Block G, Woodlawn Village, First Edition. The purpose of the vacation is to construct a 28 by 65-foot detached garage and an in-ground pool on a portion of the proposed site. If you go to the site plan, please. The garage would be wholly within the setback, and a portion of the in-ground pool would be within the setback as well, and that would include the structural component of this site, so that would need the vacation of the setback as well in order to accomplish the location of the pool. If approved, the request reduce the platted setback to 7 feet. The minimum street side setback along Central in SF5 would be 15 feet. The applicant would exceed this by 8 feet. This was kind of in the realm of somewhere that could be adjusted down to by administrative adjustment. As you recall, this is becoming a fairly common request along East Central at this location. There's been several properties within this half mile at 501 North Talleyrand, 508 North Mission, 508 North Hampton that have all requested to reduce their 50-foot platted setback. And one was approved down to 5 feet. That was vacation 2649 at 508 North Hampton. So this is within the realm of several other property owners who all of them constructed detached garages. This one has the other component of wanting to construct an in-ground pool as well. There's a sanitary sewer line along the east property line that's contained within an easement. That easement is not part of the application, so there's no issues there. Public Works does not object to this. Traffic engineering does not object to this. This has a standard condition, as the rest of them did, to require a dedication of access control along East Central in order to prohibit any drive onto East Central. So access to the property would remain off of Armour. Evergy and Cox have equipment and lines in the easement to the east. Again, that easement is being retained and there's no issue there. Evergy wanted to point out that they have clearance standards from the building as well as the pool. The MAPC staff report that will go out to the applicant and to this body for next week. It will, again, include the applicant. They provided those clearance standards, and I will include those as attachments onto the Planning Commission staff report, so the applicant will have those to refer to when it comes to construction to make sure that they maintain proper clearance from Evergy's lines that are in the easement on the east side of the property. Neither of those companies object to the vacation either. I haven't heard any public comment from this, and one thing to mention is because of the geometry of the lot, the narrow side technically is along East Central. We've had this with the other properties where the applicant will have to submit an administrative adjustment prior to construction of the detached garage, and those are details I'll talk about with the applicants as to what that process looks like once the vacation moves through. With that, I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Aldridge.
The access for the existing drive that's there is staying there, correct?
Correct.
How are they going to access the garage?
I will defer to the applicants.
And is there going to be any screening requirement, fencing or anything?
I believe there's
along
already
Central?
a fence there, but this wouldn't create any mandatory screening as it's an SF5 property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Any other comments for the advisory board members?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional comment.
Thank you. Applicant or agent? Please give us your name and address, please.
Hi, Alicia and Ryan Stulzot, owner of the property at 508 North Armor, requesting a vacate to put in a future garage that would house a lot of, be essentially more of a shop and to store lawn equipment so we could actually use the garage that's attached to our house. And then the future pool, which we would like to put in, and it's actually an above-ground permanent structure that would be installed by a professional company, ultra-modern pool. And that's all the comments we have.
You agree with staff comments?
Excuse me, sir?
You agree with staff comments? The comments
Yes,
on the report.
I don't know what staff comments are.
The comments that we're going to require
Oh, yes.
require the dedication of access control, the central, and the administrative adjustment process in order to.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions of the, Mr. Aldridge?
On your site plan, you're not showing access there off of Armor, but that's where, am I correct, is where that's where the access is gonna be for your future drives, if this is approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Fox, you got a question? No. Thank you. Is there anyone else present in the commission chambers wanting to speak on this item? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve per staff comments.
Second?
Got a motion by Ms. Fox to approve, second by Mr. Aldridge. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 6-0. The next item is vacation case 2024-00011.
Philip Zievenbergen, for the record, vacation 2411, the applicant is requesting to vacate the north 20 feet of a platted 35-foot drainage right-of-way as it was indicated on the plat. Essentially, it's a drainage easement. This is along the south property line of Lot 5, Block 1 of the W.B. Carter Edition. This is located on the east side of South Hoover, just north of K42. The purpose of the vacation is to allow a building expansion onto the existing structure. As you see from the aerial image, if we can go to that, you'll see the existing structure there. And they're looking to expand to the south. There is storm sewer in the area over here. And Wichita Stormwater has no objection to the vacation. The storm sewer will be extended to the property line, and a 15-foot gravel road will be constructed in order to allow Wichita Storm Sewer to have access. So it sounds like they've been already working with Public Works and Engineering, and they would have to work with them anyway, as if they're going to expand onto the south part of the building, there's going to need some relocation of drainage equipment along the property anyway. So there may be the need for a filing of a private project drainage depending on what they're needing to do, but they'll work with Public Works and Engineering on that. I've not heard any public comment on this, and Cox and Evergy do not have any equipment in the area, so they do not object to it either. And I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you. Any advisory board members have any comment?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional comment?
Yeah, Joe Hickle, City Stormwater. I have negotiated this with the landowner 3 times to finally come to an agreement, so I support the vacation.
Thank you. Applicant or agent?
J. Cook Boffman Company. As Mr. Hickle said, our client originally wanted to vacate a little bit more, and he's been in conversations with the city and also the Wichita Airport Authority to make sure that he was going to vacate a little bit, but still give access to the big ditch that is located over here for the city. So we negotiated down to 20 foot to build a 15-foot gravel access to that. And I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions of the agent? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anybody present would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve per staff comments.
Got a motion by Mr. Williams Bay, second by Mr. Zimmerman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? 6-0. Now we'll go to subdivision items 2024-00009.
Good morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present the Rock Island 4th Edition subdivision. Next screen. The property is owned L1 Limited Industrial and is 0.46 acres. Next screen. And then the next screen. This is a one-step final plat for a one-lot industrial subdivision located within the city. I'll go through staff comments. Item A, Public Works advises water is available, sanitary sewer needs to be extended, and an additional easement may be needed on the east side of plat depending on the amount of right-of-way that is vacated by this plat. Item D, stormwater management advise applicant needs to submit a drainage plan for review. Item E, standard city fire comment. Item F, traffic engineering will continue to work with the agent on right-of-way needs along Mosley Avenue. Item H, standard environmental health comment about irrigation wells properly permitted and installed. And item T, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will not need to request additional easements at this time. They will serve the area from the east line from Mosley Street where they have an existing power. Stand for questions.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you. Advisory board members, any comments, please?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional comment.
Joe Hickle, City Stormwater. Item D, the drainage plan has been approved.
Christopher Stone with City of Wichita Water. There is a water service available to the site. I wasn't able to go out and confirm if it's still there or not. So if they want to reuse that connection, we may have to come back out and reinstall it, and that'll take about 3 to 5 weeks to install.
Anyone else?
Lee Carmichael, Traffic Engineering. We're in agreement with the right-of-way along Mosley as presented. We've worked it out with the agents.
Thank you. Applicant or agent?
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering, 117 East Louis. And we're good with everything since the right-of-way's taken care of.
Any questions of the agent? Guess not.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here wants to speak on this item? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to board. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Motion to approve for staff recommendations and comments.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Williams Bay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Next item is subdivision item 2024-00010.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present the 47th and Rock Edition. Next screen. This is located along South Rock Road, and it is zoned IPA, Industrial Park Airport. This is a it's a one-step final plat for a two-lot industrial subdivision on unplatted property in the county within the city of Wichita 3-mile ring. Go through staff comments. Item A is located within the McConnell Air Force Base Overlay District, and email was received indicating that there were no concerns regarding this subdivision plat from McConnell. Item B, Public Works and Utilities require no protest agreement for future sanitary sewer. Item C, since sanitary sewer is unavailable to serve this property, the applicant will need to contact MABCD for test, and a memo shall be obtained. Item D, property is located within rural water district number 3. If service is available and feasible, the property is eligible for service. MABCD recommends connection. Item E, county stormwater management advises applicant needs to submit a drainage plan for review. Item F, Public Works recommends approval of a joint access easement for lots 1 and 2. The joint access easement needs to be shown on the face of the plat. And Public Works requests an auxiliary lane near the entrance. Item G, County Public Works requires a guarantee of closure of the existing drives and access controls. Item H, County Public Works approves of the right-of-way dedication along South Rock Road. Item I, Public Works inquires that if there is an associated easement with the Jayhawk pipeline box, a partial release and confinement will need to be acquired. Item K, standard county fire comment. Item L, standard city fire comment. And item DD, Evergy will need to request an additional 10-foot easement, which has been forwarded to the agent. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff? Advisory board members, any comments?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional comment.
Chris with the City of Wichita Water. There is also a service here at this site, and that one should be pretty easily found. So.
Anybody else? Applicant or agent?
Kirk Miller, K. Miller Engineering, 117 East Louis. Chris, you said there's a water service there? Oh, we're not, that's not this plat. This is county.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong
I wish
one.
there was a service there. It'd be a lot easier. We're fine with the staff comments. The auxiliary lane, we're wanting to do that by petition, and then have the county decide whenever the traffic volume gets to the point it needs to be installed, that it be installed by a petition project. We have submitted a drainage plan. I think it's about a week and a half ago, it was right after we submitted the plat. I think Scott was out of town or something. We haven't heard anything back from him. We've been trying to get hold of him, so hopefully we'll get some answer on that pretty quick. Otherwise, we're fine with staff comments.
Any questions of the agent? Guess not.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else here in the commission chambers wants to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve per staff comments and pending the drainage plan approval.
Second.
Got a motion by Ms. Fox, second by Mr. Dole. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next item is subdivision 2024-00011.
Morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff here to present the Devonshire second edition. Next screen, please. This is located on southeast corner Tyler and Maple, and is zoned LC limited commercial. Next screen. And next screen. This is a one-step final plat for a one-lot industrial subdivision within the city. Go through staff comments. Item A, City Public Works advises that water and sanitary sewer are available. Item E, City Stormwater Management advises applicant needs to submit a drainage plan. Item F, standard city fire comment. Item G, Complete access controls with one 40-foot opening are shown along South Tyler Road and West Maple Street. And street dedications are indicated along Tyler Road and Maple Street. Traffic engineering request openings move as far from intersection as possible and request a certificate of closure of existing approaches, and also request dimensions for opening along Maple and along Tyler. Item H, standard health department comment regarding irrigation wells properly installed and permitted. And item R, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will not need to request any additional easements at this time. Stand for questions.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you. Advisory board members, any comment?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional comment?
Joe Hickle, Stormwater. Item E, the drainage plan has been approved.
Christopher Stone with City of Wichita Water. This one does have a Water Service Act. And it was recently used with the last building. So it should be available to use readily. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Lee Carmichael, Traffic Engineering. We've worked with the agent to come up with a good plan for the approaches from this property, so.
Thank you. Applicant or agent?
Chris Rose with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. The applicant agrees with staff comments and with what Mr. Carmichael has just said. We have worked out something on access controls and we'll get that on the plat. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of the agent? Guess not. Anybody else present want to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve for staff comments.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Weensbay, second by Ms. Fox. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? 6-0. Is there any other information that we got to deal with? Then we're adjourned.